You are watching and listening to Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV on YouTube and your favourite podcasts.
Are you ready? I'm saying, are you ready?
Watch us on YouTube. Listen on your favourite podcast platform. Or ask your smart speaker to play the podcast Leicester Till I Die.
Right, Chris.
Good evening. I don't know why that was on the loop so often, but 5 years ago today, I think as Leicester fans, we all remember where we were at the time. If you were at the match, you were probably walking away and couldn't believe what you were hearing. I remember I was doing a show and I couldn't get to the match, and I remember sitting down, relaxing, and then the phone just starting to go off, and so many messages coming through saying, "Have you heard? Have you heard?" And I think the worst thing was that nobody knew for certain, although I guess we probably did know because we didn't know, if that makes sense. No news, as they say, wasn't good news. I mean, you know, watching it live, if you were on BT, it happened in the background, and then say 5 years, and I don't think there will be a 27th of October when we don't remember that, and we don't thank Vichai for what he and his family have done for us, not forgetting the other four that were that perished in the helicopter as well. It wasn't just Vichai, so RIP to all of them. Craig, your memories of that night?
Yeah, I was. I can remember it vividly. I was talking to somebody at work today. I was at the game and came home, and then I don't think I'd long been home, and a tweet came up that just said, "Oh, there's a fire near the ground," and there was some very sort of blurry picture that was put up, and I thought no more of it. I thought, oh, it looks like a car's on fire or something. Literally went upstairs, and then 60 seconds later, I think it may have even been Rob Tanner or somebody like that, I put a tweet out saying there's unconfirmed reports that it's the chairman's helicopter. I remember rushing downstairs and sharing the news, and I can still picture the looks on their faces when I broke that news, and everybody was sort of in shock and hoping it wasn't true. But then sadly it was, and then you flick the news on, and it all unfolds in front of you. Very sad.
It does. And one thing, nothing, it's not good, obviously, but something that came out of that was the way that football came together.
Yeah, I think I put a tweet out earlier today, retweeting the club's thing and saying that they basically created a blueprint for football ownership. That everybody, not just you know, they didn't just buy a football club; they bought into the city, and they bought in to the people of the city, and they brought them together and with this unifying force. And I think it was, you know, people were with us before that, weren't they? You know, through the fact that we'd won the Premier League, we were the underdogs, and then for that tragedy to happen as well. And I think everybody in football, as you say, you know, it was like it was going from the most joyful of highs down to the lowest of lows in terms of football ownership. And when you see some of the people who have come in and owned football clubs and the sort of mercenaries that are out there, and I'm just so thankful for that this family, that Vichai chose us, and I think we'll forever, as Leicester City fans, be in his debt.
One of probably the earliest memory I have of them was at one point in this first season they were with us. They somebody was doing a cycle to every ground in the league for his son who needed treatment in America, and I think they were sort of 25,000 short of their target. And they got him on the pitch, and they said, you know, here, there's a check for 25,000. And I mean, there's the hospital, there's all the charities. Like you say, they bought into the county, let's say.
And I think it's important for every Leicester City fan to remember what Kun Vishai and subsequently his family have done for the club. And when we go through the bad times, it was very easy, but for people to criticise last season. But the most upsetting thing of all of that, I think, was when it was starting to be pointed towards the owners of the business and the owners of the football club, and maybe they should think to sell. And you know, we all have heightened emotions around football on the ups and the downs, but I would never want to see that. You know, for me, you know, there are owners, and I hope that they always will be.
They you know, if Colesberg did football owners,
yeah,
as they say. And I've got to be honest with you, I was very critical last season, not just of Top, but of the whole management structure, as in Susan Whelan, John Rudkin, etc. But never at any point did I actually want him out of the club.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, we could all. Yeah, you know, I think they're first to admit that they didn't get everything right last season, and we all, you know, in every walk of life, people make mistakes. People who run football club, their mistakes are laid bare for everyone to see, and I'm sure our guest who's coming on shortly will have his own stories of how football clubs haven't been run particularly well. But I think, you know, for the little blip, hopefully a short-term blip that we've suffered, I think we've had more than our fair share of highs.
Definitely. Talking about our extra guest, and I have apologised to him and explained that, you know, we were going to do that first, and also apologise for any smiles we have on our face as we're going through the stats this evening. But I did ask him to remember that, you know, this time last year we were feeling the way that he is. But let's welcome him in. And I actually got quite a soft spot for QPR. I don't know why. I've got no association with London, that part of London, anything. I just like QPR as a team. We'll say good evening to Alex. Alex, good evening, sir. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you guys?
Not so bad.
We're
Thank
good,
you
thank
so
you.
much for being patient.
No problem at all.
Do you want to start by telling everybody where you can be found and details about your podcasts, etc.?
Yeah, so I'm the host of Our Generation on Air. We're a podcast that has been put together by fellow QPR fans of a sort of younger age. One of the guys kind of saw an opportunity a few years back, sort of middle of COVID. We weren't doing much and we all wanted to have our voice on the club that we love. So we're a bunch of youngish lads, I guess you could say, that have at some point wanted to talk about our club and maybe go forward into careers in the media, and that's how it all started. And we kind of just do it for fun now, really. And to get things off our chest about poor management and bad defending and all the such. But yeah, it's all a bit of fun talking about the club we love. We're on pretty much every, I think, streaming service. So Spotify and Apple Podcasts being the main ones.
Yeah.
Alex, you've already mentioned used the word youngish twice, so just be careful around. Just be careful around here. Although, thanks for bringing down the average age of the presenters.
Yeah,
No.
I was thinking that,
No.
Craig. I was ready to do this. I thought, how many times is he going to say this in the first? I've written it down there, youngish. Well, let's get our own back, shall we, for 1 second, Brad? And I apologise for this, Alex. Oops. Oh, getting rid of Craig then. I didn't mean to do that. What I meant to do was move this forward. And, let's not get carried away, but we enjoy getting carried away because I think we couldn't this time last year. But obviously, Burnley, we're being likened to Burnley so much, if not them and Manchester City. But at this stage, Craig, after 13 games, 22 points for Burnley, 36 for us. They were fourth, we were first. 101 points to them. If we carry on as we're doing, and we're not going to, we know it, but 125 points is in the offing.
Yeah. I'd be very surprised if that's the case. But I mean, when Company went in there, I think he had a bit of the season they went down. Someone will correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sure, but they were still finding their feet early on, and he was a relatively.
They did, because they had didn't they have a temporary manager?
Yeah, they may well do. But the comparables between him and Maresca are there in terms of young managers who have been around Pep, for a long time. Company have been around Pep a lot longer than Maresca. But first proper jobs in football, I know Company had been over in Belgium, I think, for a while. Maresca had that short spell in Parma that didn't go very well at all. But finding their way, and the fact that he's hit the ground running, people talk about the fact that we've got a lot of Premiership players. We have, but a lot of our points have come from young kids and new signings who have not played in the Premier League before. So the balance is there. But the fact that he's managed to get his message over to these players so quickly and so effectively is all credit to him. And we all know it's going to get tougher. Yeah. We had a really tough game against Sunderland the other night and did well to come out of it. And regardless of the position that QPR face themselves in, I expect that to be a tough game as well. And then we've got Leeds coming up next. So it's not going to get any easier because we are there to be shot at, and everybody will want to be. Everybody is going to be the one.
Feeling about this game because being Leicester, Alex, we'd probably beat Leeds, we'll beat Ipswich when we play them. We've beaten sort of every so-called tough team, and no disrespect for you, we'll turn up at Loftus Road tomorrow and you'll probably beat us. That's Leicester. But I noticed you did say, like I say, youngish twice there, and I think that's because you can actually get away without answering some of these questions. But we always start off. We'll say always. Last week we started this, didn't we, Craig? Foot in both camps.
Yeah.
And there's been one or two, but a bit of a leg end here for QPR, and towards the twilight of his career, he did turn out for Leicester, as you can see there. Your memories, whatever they be, of Mr. Ferdinand, who obviously was with you up until recently.
Yeah, so from my point of view, Les Ferdinand, in my sort of QPR supporting life, has only ever been the director of football, and obviously he's the legend of the football club for his footballing, his on pitch antics. So I can't really sort of say much about or anything really about his footballing career with us. But in terms of being a director of football, it's towards the end, and well, for a while now, he had been a point of conjecture between quite a few QPR fans. A lot of people not believing that he was doing a good enough job as director of football. I think he got a thankless job trying to take us from where we were when he first came in, which should have been many managers ago. I mean, I'm not saying that he was perfect in the role, but this is not a club that's blessed with a lot of money at the moment. He could have done things a lot better, but ultimately, I think director of football is still a new role in football, and he was the first QPR DOF, if I'm not mistaken. So I think a lot of our fans still don't actually understand what a director of football is. So much of stuff in football goes on behind the scenes, and I feel it's really unfair at times to comment on a lot of stuff because you are not privy to those arguments behind the scenes. It's not all rosy between everyone on the board, I imagine.
Do you think, though, that ex-players that are legends, if you like, at clubs risk it all if they come back in a non-playing role, whatever that role is?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't really have any attachment to Les Ferdinand as a player, obviously, but I certainly have an attachment to Gareth Ainsworth as a player. He was,
Oh, we will be coming on to him in a minute.
I'm sure you will. But like it's such a risk, and I don't know why you would do it, because that nostalgia does not last long, and it doesn't last long at QPR. It seems to last less than other places.
Man United could probably have something to say about that. Craig, I mean, that was when we were going through our Derby and Jones period, wasn't it? We seemed to sign any ex-Premier League footballer that was on the way down and still wanted to get a wage back. Dennis Wise, Martin Keown, just to name but two. I'm sure there's many others that I can't remember at the moment.
Yeah.
I think with Les, or Sir Les, as we used to call him, he never actually. I mean, if you say Martin Keown, if you say Dennis Wise, all right, we know what he did, but none of those sort of players left with any sort of credit. But Les, he came in and kind of, I can't remember him being that prolific. You might remind me if I'm wrong here, but we can see he scored one goal for us. But he did seem to get, the fans seem to like him.
I think so. I was a little bit worried when you put the foot in both camps. I thought you were going to have Ian Holloway up there.
No. I have my limits.
But I think Les Ferdinand was with us in a period that didn't really leave us with many memories, to be honest. It was like a nondescript. It's like the boring chapters in the middle of a book, that you just think, right, you're just ambling through now. Get to the point towards the end. Let's have the climax, because we were ambling around for a period, and as you say, picking up players on short-term contracts. So yeah, my memories of him are that he played for us a few times, but nothing specific that ever stuck in my mind about him. He was a decent player. He was always a decent player, Les Ferdinand. He had his great years, and it's true that they say you don't lose it. You lose a bit of pace, but you don't lose the football intelligence. And I think that's what he brought to the front line for a bit. But I don't think he'd go down as a Leicester legend. That's for sure.
No, he wouldn't. And I think for me, he's there probably with something like Dion Dublin. They came in towards the end of the career, didn't do anything wrong, but their reputation, like I say, Sir Les, we called him for some reason, but there we go. Alex, I want to throw this at you because this is something you sent to me via a a tweet earlier in the week, and I apologise for reminding you that you said this. Your quote was, "There's nothing really to enjoy about QPR at the moment." Is it that bad?
Yeah, I mean, last season we stayed up by the skin of our teeth. A win away at Burnley when they had really they knew they had either won the league or they had already got promotion, so they were rotating players, and yeah, it was a great result in the moment. And I think anyone that went to the game, I didn't, but if you went to the game, they would have confessed that it wasn't a great watch, but it will probably be a game that sort of sticks in the memory a little bit because of in the end it's the game that probably did keep us up. It just feels so bleak. There's the game against West Brom in midweek was incredibly depressing. I don't think we even really tried to win the game. I think, as most QPR fans and most football fans will probably say, you want your team to always try, and losing is never good. But there's an acceptable way that you can lose, and Wednesday certainly wasn't that. And there's been too many thrashings recently. A lot of people have lost love for the situation and for the club, I guess, and certainly for the board. They're coming under plenty of criticism, but it's what it is.
Again, we were feeling a bit like this towards, and we'll come on to Gary in a second, but with our manager last season, weren't we, Craig? With as good as he had been and with what he had achieved, you only remember the last season, don't you?
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting to know what the atmosphere is like down at Loftus Road, because last season at Leicester it got very toxic very quickly, which was probably even more disappointing than the performances on the pitch. The atmosphere that was so much almost like a 12th man when we were in our pomp and our glory seasons, for that to go so toxic. And I would imagine that was a very difficult atmosphere for players to play in, to be honest. And some of our better performances last season were away. So yeah, I fully understand it. I always thought, like you said just before we came on, right at the start, Chris, I always thought that if I lived in London, QPR would be the kind of team that I would probably support, because living in the shadows a little bit of all the big, you're surrounded by noisy neighbours, let's be fair. But then for the likes of Fulham and Brentford to come and sort of, bypass you as you're sort of chugging along in the inside lane is a little, cuts even harder, I would imagine, at the moment. So what is the atmosphere like? Is it toxic, or is it just a resigned acceptance of this is our fate?
It is a mix of both. It can get quite toxic at points. I'd say that a bit more sort of on social media, the toxicity comes through. But it's bizarre because I was just recorded our podcast for the week just before I came on here, and I was talking to the chap that I'm on with, and the game is virtually a sellout tomorrow, I believe. So we're kind of thinking there's a few of you guys in the home end, because I don't know who's buying these tickets.
There's one of ours in your end as well, because actually said that was the only way you could get a ticket. So I'm presuming we've sold out.
I generally don't know who's taken up these spare tickets from us that aren't sort of season ticket holders. There's definitely a lot of apathy and just sort of resigned to the fact that at the moment under Gareth Ainsworth we're heading one way. And it's just like you're saying about all the teams that have, you've already got those big teams like Arsenal and Chelsea and Tottenham. They've got fantastic infrastructures, and they can have a slightly wobbly bit like Chelsea have, but they can still splurge a load of money, and in the end we'll probably get out of it okay. We just have to enjoy the bit when they're not doing too good. But it's what adds insult to injury is the other clubs of what people would say probably are the same kind of size of us, and some QPR fans would say smaller than us. Brentford have gone past us, Fulham have gone past us, Crystal Palace as well. You know, they are now an established Premier League club. But I remember when we won the Championship, Crystal Palace were in the Championship with us, and they were kind of challenging at that top end of the table around then. Luton have since come through and gone past us. Brighton, to a certain extent. These are all kind of local teams that have shot past us with better infrastructure, with better players, better managers, so many better decisions. I think the really frustrating thing is that we can see as a fan base that it is perfectly possible for a club of our size to squeeze our way into the Premier League and come out and not have broken the bank to stay in there and still be sort of sustainable in our own way. And yet we still cannot manage to find a way of doing that.
I mean, it's a lot of people, a lot of football fans, particularly of a certain age, will only know QPR, I guess, from pushing Man City all the way to like a 94th minute winner, and the Aguero incident when you ran.
How did it go, Craig?
Yeah, well, you ran Man City really close in that particular game, and you just look at the directions the two clubs have gone since, and that just typifies everything, doesn't it?
Yeah, and if you go back even further than that, you know, we were one of the first, or we were part of the first Premier League season. You know, we've had better times in seasons gone past, years gone past. We finished second at one point in the top division many moons ago. But from my point of view, I've only seen 3 maybe seasons of QPR in the top flight. QPR to me as a fan is actually a Championship side. So I guess for me and a couple of other younger fans, it's not acceptable, but it's certainly much more stomachable that we are in this division. For some QPR fans that saw it's not really glory because we didn't really win anything, but us being in and amongst the top clubs, that it's less acceptable. And that's where a lot of the apathy comes from, I think.
Gary Ainsworth, we've got him there. Caretaker a couple of times for you quite a while ago. He's been at Wickham quite a few times. Did he come in the summer, Gary Ainsworth?
It's last year. So we had Mick Beale, who then did a runner after about 12 games, went up to Rangers. He's since been sacked. We quite enjoyed that outcome. We then got Neil Critchley in, and that didn't work out. We started on a downward spiral, and it happened. It started under Beale. Critchley came into the situation, couldn't solve it, and he got his marching orders. And then you've got Ainsworth, who's come in as sort of like firefighting last season, and then also it's an appointment that's obviously laced with nostalgia to his playing days, and I guess that's something that the board would have hoped would have got him more time, but it has worn quite thin quite quickly, really. But yeah,
your thoughts when you came in as manager?
I didn't particularly want him, to be honest. Obviously I wanted the club to stay up, but I kind of thought that it would end up this way. The type of football that Wickham played when they were in the Championship, it was quite negative, to be honest. And he did a fantastic job at Wickham. He managed to sort of get something out of a very a small budget, small-ish club. To get them up into the Championship is a success. To try and keep him up, you know, it was a good effort, but ultimately flawed in the end. I never felt that he was someone that was actually going to be able to take us forward as a club. And I just felt like this was always going to be the outcome, where we're in the wrong end of the table with a former player that I have a lot of time for getting dragged through the mud. And it's not fun for me to watch this, because he's someone that I really do have a lot of time for, someone that was there when I was growing up, and it's just really disappointing that it's become so predictable what was going to happen.
A lot of rumours that we might be playing you with a different manager at this point. Do you think he's kept his job purely at this point because, you know, you don't want on paper, and we know football's not played on paper, but on paper this should be we know, Leicester should win this. If you're going on form, Leicester should win this. We know that that's unlikely to happen, and Leicester being Leicester, we're likely to lose this. But you didn't necessarily, or your owners don't want a new guy coming in and his first game. And I said, please don't take this as being condescending, but you don't want that to be a drubbing against the top team.
Absolutely. I mean, we are all expecting to lose tomorrow. Going to the game expecting to lose, which is a horrible situation to be in as a football fan, because you always want to feel like you're in the game at the very least. Last season, it was a similar situation. So Gareth came in, or was it? No, sorry. Critchley came in after the World Cup break, and our first game back from that was Burnley. But he wasn't officially appointed at that point. One of the youth coaches took that game. We lost quite easily, 3-0, I think it was. It wasn't much of a contest. And then Critchley comes in the game afterwards. I think that's the theory that everyone's going with, because no one can really understand why he's still there. I mean, as a manager, he's perfectly entitled to tough it out and try and find some sort of success, because, he's got a contract there. He's not going to walk away from that. But yeah, that's kind of the theory that we're all working towards, and we're kind of expecting that, if it goes to form, we get a bit of a drubbing, Gareth leaves, and then there's a clean slate at least for someone else to come in. And at the moment, that man is apparently going to be Gary Rowett, but until Gareth is actually sacked, you can't believe anything, can you?
No, he's gone through.
It sounds like to me that if we win, you get what you want, we get what we want. So, everyone's a winner is what I'm hearing here. So, if you could just get that message through to the players.
I don't think that message is, I think, very clearly received based on the form of the last couple of games. I saw someone on Twitter today talk about there's a predictor league that some QPR fans have set up, and their predictor only goes up to 10 goals, and they've seen that as a bit of a problem. So that's the attitude that we're taking into tomorrow's game.
I mean, Gareth Rowett, Craig, obviously, again, ex-Leicester City player. He's gone through quite a few clubs, hasn't he?
The thing is, for me, and it's easy to sit here when we've brought in a progressive manager, that again doesn't look like a progressive move to me. It looks like someone who, again, looking as an outsider, QPR looks like a football club that, you've got some wealthy guys in there, and probably one of the first clubs who brought in some really big money benefactors, but who clearly decided that they weren't going to throw money at it and just throw money away. They were going to try and run it as a sensible business, and that sort of backfired a little bit, I guess. But QPR look like a team who needs to be able to produce their own players, have a strong youth system. And to do that now, you have to have a manager who's got a strong enough identity and a way of playing to filter that down through the under-18s, the youth team or whatever. So your football club has an identity that you can then bring players through who will slot into the same system that they're playing all the way through. And somebody like a Gary Rowett, again, just looks like a couple of seasons appointment for me. It doesn't look like an appointment that is going to change the narrative in the long term. I could be wrong.
Since 2014, he's had 5 clubs as manager. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's at least a championship quality manager, I'd say. But it probably won't surprise at this point. We still don't have a director of football, and someone who isn't actually. We've got, I think, our CEO Lee Hughes is essentially running the football section, and he's a businessman. He's not a football man. He's an American. His involvement in football stems from QPR, and
Is that him? Is that him?
Oh,
he was at. I think he came from Southampton, and I think he came to Leicester for a short period.
I thought he'd gone off to some club in
sad
Italy.
to say, he does have experience. He's not learnt it on the job with you guys.
Does he?
So he took all that experience.
I thought he'd gone to Italy or somewhere.
Yeah.
But, I've got to say then, Alex, I'm going to put this to you. Win tomorrow, get the 3 points, and Gareth Ainsworth keeps his job. or lose tomorrow, no points, but he's sacked and a new manager comes in. What would you be hoping for?
Well, if we win tomorrow in probably the toughest game of the season, then it might stem a turnaround of some sort. I want QPR to win. I as long as we don't have the aforementioned Mick Beale in charge or someone like Joey Barton, I'm not really kind of like too fussed. Gareth is a good bloke. He's just perhaps in a job that is a little bit out of his depth, and that's sad, and it does hurt to say that.
Yeah.
I want us to win, and I want it to be turned around. I don't particularly care what type of football we play, as long as we're doing well. And that can be with or without Gareth Ainsworth for all I care. I just want us to win, because if we win tomorrow, it would be brilliant to get a good feeling about the place, even if it is brief, because there is bleak at the moment.
There's nothing to say that they can't, Craig. And this, Leicester being Leicester, we do have a habit of losing to clubs at the wrong.
I mean, it'd be great for you guys, I'm sure, to be first on the secondary football show that starts at 11:30 on a Saturday night. I mean, that's what we all dream of, isn't it? So, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys will say that. QPR fans will be saying it will be the most QPR thing possible to go and turn Leicester over tomorrow. I think every football fan says that about their club. Realistically, if your boys have got any sense, they will know exactly how to beat us, and I think it's pretty telegraphed at this point. So I don't see form being bucked here.
No, there's a little bit there as to whether there's a couple of our key players, whether they'll be rested, because we've got the game against Leeds on Friday night. We've got two players who are one booking away from a suspension. So there is talk. One of those is Harry Winks, who's been, incredible, to be honest, and has been at the heart of everything. And I think Dewsbury Hall is the other one. So, there's talk of whether they will be rested, shall we say, to try and avoid picking up a fifth yellow and therefore missing the Leeds game. So it may be a little bit of a changed team that you're coming up against.
Craig, I don't ask you to name your team these weeks, because it is hard with Enzo in charge, because he changes because that's the way he's playing the season, and we're not moaning at how he's taking us. But do you not play Harry Winks or KDH tomorrow?
I think he'll play Harry Winks and rest KDH. I can't see him going into a game without Harry Winks if he's available, to be honest, because he does knit it all together. He is unspectacular, but his stats are just phenomenal in terms of his pass completion, the number of times that he's on the ball, he's at the heart of everything. I think, he's an experienced player who should be able to keep himself out of trouble. It's not like, he's going to go and throw himself into challenges. So I'd be surprised if he dropped Winks. I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't play Dewsbury Hall.
I think one we could do without, but two, and then lose, the questions would be asked. Alex, I mean, looking at the position there, 23rd out of 24, only 2 wins this season, only 9 goals scored, 24 conceded. Safety is already 6 points away.
Yeah. I mean, it got worse midweek. I think Rotherham have a couple of games in hand of us now, and they managed to pick some points up. That says it all, really, doesn't it? The table does not lie. We haven't won at home since we played Watford and beat them 1-0, and that was one of Gareth Ainsworth's very early games. So this is, if we win this game tomorrow, it is utterly remarkable. It's probably longer odds than you guys winning the Premier League, to be honest.
Well, I must admit, when Hull did it over, I'm so. I mean, again, like you say, I never want my team to lose, but I was so glad we did actually lose one and get it out of the way. When we lost to Hull, they were sort of celebrating like that they had won the league. But like you say, I mean, I think the fact is that your form going into this game, it's not just the fact that you've only won 2. You've not won in at least 5. I don't know when the last time you won was, but you've lost in 6. Sorry, but you've lost 5. And in the form table, you actually, although it is on goal difference, I grant you, but you're actually below Sheffield Wednesday in the form table based on those 6 games.
I mean, it's the last couple of games have been, absolutely awful. You can see there's a couple of really big results there. Blackburn putting 4 past us, and 3-1 against Coventry. I have to confess, after the Birmingham game, I thought that was a pretty decent result. I don't think they're an incredible side, but you look at the kind of the way that we're going, any point is quite a decent one. And Gareth's football is suited to us playing away from home. Having said that, the game against West Brom, 2-0, there was no effort to even lay a finger on West Brom. It was really, really gutting. You can't justify playing football like that. You can get beaten by a better side, and if you guys take us apart tomorrow because you got better players, and fair enough, that's fine. That is just the way that football goes. But playing against West Brom, a side that have been in the Championship for quite a few seasons now, I don't think they're an amazing side. I think they've got some good players and they've got a pretty decent manager, but they've not managed to get promoted. They're haven't really been in the mix for that. And we go in there parking the bus from the first minute. Like I said, I don't care really how we play our football, but there's got to be more from us in an attacking sense. You can't just sit off a team for 90 minutes and expect to win or draw the game. It's just not. It's not sustainable in any way.
And it's surprising, isn't it? It's surprising to me as an outsider because that's the one thing you thought you would get from a Gareth Ainsworth side. That you would get hard work and commitment and some physicality. And it doesn't seem to be there. And I saw him in his post-match interview saying, basically, we need to work harder. We know it's not acceptable, but you can't say that every week and then not work hard. Yeah,
I mean, his post-match comments have worn really thin for a lot of QPR fans. The hard work isn't there anymore. I think a lot of the players are really looking at what they're doing. Football is a limited career. You want to do the best in every situation. And there's a couple of players there, they've not played well enough over the last couple of seasons, but it was only 2 seasons ago that we were challenging for the playoffs. And we were in the playoffs for the majority of the season under Mark Warburton, and it all fell away at the end. And had things gone very differently, some of these players could have been going on to better things in QPR right now. But if you look at the way that we played against West Brom, there was a lot of defeated attitudes from a lot of the players, I think. And some players like Jack Colback, it looks like he's regretting every decision he's made on his way here. Every time he's playing for us at the moment, it's really disappointing because there is decent players there. They can play a lot better than what they're doing right now. It's just unfortunately Gareth doesn't seem to be the man to unlock that.
Yeah. I think Scott's looking to a big win tomorrow. He's gone. Anyone know what the highest winning difference in the Championship game is? Nate says 8-0, and it is actually 8-0. Scott, you're right, Nate. Wigan beat Hull 8-0 in 2020, and Bournemouth beat Birmingham City 8-0 away from home. Wigan were at home in 2014. Queen's Park Rangers, unfortunately, mate, you are on there. You lost 7-1 to West Brom again in 2018. Sorry about that. I wasn't there for that game, but I remember that. So I think we played in a horrific pink kit as well, which just adds insult to injury.
bleak times.
We've had a pink quick kit. Don't knock it, mate. Don't knock it. Any more questions from yourself? Because I mean, it wasn't actually that long ago, and we're going to come on to, and we'll let you go before we stick the knife in and twist it. But we always look at a past game as well, which was actually the last game we played. Which again, I'm guessing you're too young to remember. But it was only when we were actually surviving by the skin of our teeth that you actually were in the Premier League.
Yeah, so correct me if I've got it wrong. I think we go down, you stay up, and then you win the league, don't you? Is that?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah,
I think we were up, and yeah, that's basically.
I mean, that. This is, you know, like I said, the lowest league I've seen us play in is the Championship. When I've been seriously supporting the club. When I was a very young lad, we probably were, I think, in League One or something like that. So, you know, getting relegated from the Premier League isn't necessarily anything shameful in my eyes, especially if you do it in a sensible way. We never really did that. We splurged a load of money on players that were there for a quick buck and didn't really care about us as a football club, as a fan base, whatever. And then, you know, one of the clubs that survive, you know, you guys, then goes on and wins the league the next season, and it's a fantastic football fairy tale. And I have to say, when it was happening, I struggled with it a bit more than most. Didn't necessarily enjoy it as much as other neutrals, because I looked at what you guys did and thought, you know, that would have been incredible if that was us. Like it wasn't in any way close to being us at all. But the sort of jealousy was definitely a word I would use when that was happening.
Well, thank you for your honesty.
But well, you know, years gone by with the sort of robotic nature of who wins the Premier League now, something like you guys winning the Premier League is something to be cherished rather than to be jealous of. So
I think it will be a while before we see anything like that again. Unfortunately, Alex, we did a show at the international break where we were predicting, a few of us were predicting the bottom three, the playoff teams, and the top two. I was the only one out of the three of us, but unfortunately, I've got to say that I had got you to go down. So I'm sorry about that. Craig, do you see QPR going down, or do you see them surviving?
Well, you know, of course I see them surviving, Chris. I mean, I can't believe that you had them to go down. It's an absolute disgrace.
He's a bullshitter, I tell you. He is the king. I tell you what, I'm thinking of actually deleting this.
Here is wise man from ancient times.
I don't think he is wise.
I mean, I remember us last year, and you start looking around and you think, are there three worst teams? And that's the way that you start looking at it. Obviously, Sheffield Wednesday are in a mess at the moment.
Yeah.
You got Rotherham, who are very hit and miss and don't look like. I mean, Huddersfield they've done their sack the manager, get a new manager in. Well, he didn't sack him; he decided to leave. Your old favourite Neil Warnock. Get a new manager in, and that started really well with a 4-0 defeat. So I think there's going to be 4 or 5 of you, but I think you really need to start pulling up some results after this. And, you know, if you can get that new manager bounce, you know, I think at least as much as I said, Gary Rowett isn't a long-term fix. Well, I don't think so. He might be the short-term kind of fix that you need. It'll just get you organised and stop shipping goals, and that's always the way to start getting the points ticking over, getting a few points, and just building some confidence. So, I hope you do get out of it, but I know I'm sure you think the same. It's going to be a long, hard struggle. Well,
interestingly, this Sunday, Sheffield Wednesday are hosting Rotherham.
Yeah.
I would imagine you're hoping for a draw there, Alex.
Yeah, I mean, we've already lost to Huddersfield recently, so that's one opportunity missed. But, what you're saying about us being in the relegation zone and predicting us to go down, to be honest, we're used to it. I think I didn't see a single predictor from various different people that put them out at the start of the season that didn't include QPR in the bottom three. And unfortunately, a lot of that is to do with the fact that Ainsworth's in charge. The search for three teams worse than us very much started before the first game of the season, to be honest. We expected this. We didn't expect anything better. I would have hoped that Gareth, being the type of manager he is, sort of fueling on positive energy and sort of us against the world attitude, I guess, would have pointed to those predictions and sort of said, prove them wrong. You as footballers should be offended by this, but it hasn't happened. So,
Jules, you're quite right. We were saying this earlier. It would be such a Leicester thing to do. What an important couple of weeks for you, though, Alex. Like I say, tomorrow, Sunday, Sheffield Wednesday take on Rotherham. And then the following Saturday, you travel up to Rotherham to play them. That has got to be a must-win, hasn't it? Lose those two, and you're going to... Oh, sorry, not lose those two, but if Rotherham win both of those, that gap...
Yeah, I mean, like on current form, it's already getting away from us a little bit, to be honest. So, it could be a new manager by Rotherham, but even still, I don't think the board are particularly ones that move quickly. No. So, this is a lot of people thought that Gareth should have gone in the international break that most recently happened, and to be honest, I'm probably inclined to agree with them because it's going one way at the moment.
At least Rooney's been snapped up, so that's something.
Scott
isn't
Parker's
it?
still available, I do believe.
Yeah, and Lampard must be due.
Right,
if Chelsea legend Lampard was appointed, then there would be mutiny.
Yes, I think there would. That's why I stopped. I stuck the knife in with Scott Parker, but I didn't twist it with Lampard. Just notice who did that. Going to look at score predictions. I was doing I was doing a review of the oh God, my mind's going. Who do we just play, Craig?
Sunderland,
that's it. I got Stoke. That Stoke was the one before. Does a review of Sunderland on Leicester City Down Under channel. Do check it out. It's a good chat. Great guests. And the predictions for this game weren't particularly nice reading for you, Alex. But the question that I asked is, the longer that you can hold on or stop us from scoring, I think the better it will be, and the more the crowd will get behind you. But you can't really afford to park the bus, can you? But you can't really afford to have a go at us. If you were to go 1-0 down quite early, how will the crowd react? Will it become toxic, and will the heads go down for the players, and you literally, not say give up, but open the floodgates?
Well, I think every fan's going there tomorrow with the expectation to lose, and we concede early goals far too frequently, and it puts us on the back foot. It's fairly obvious that conceding an early goal in a football game is not going to serve you that well, and if you keep on doing it, then you deserve what you get, really. So from the crowd point of view, if you do score early, I'm not expecting any big sort of toxicity or anger or anything. It will just be it's happened again kind of thing. And probably around 60 minutes, if we are still losing and if it's got to quite a large score by then, people will start to walk out. The crucial thing is what happens on the pitch. We concede that first goal and the heads do drop. We saw it against West Brom, saw it against Huddersfield. They scored 2 goals in quick succession very early on in our game against them the other day. And in the second half, we gave it a little bit of a go and had really good chances to come back in that game. And to get something out of it would have been gold dust, really. But the game against West Brom shows, I think, what is going to happen. The heads will drop. And the earlier the better for you, because this team doesn't have much fight in them at the moment. If you move the ball quick enough, you'll cut through us.
So what prediction are you going to throw at me then?
Well, last week for the Huddersfield game on one of their podcasts, I correctly predicted 2-1 as an optimistic result. So I'm yeah. So optimistic again. I really think you guys should be putting 4 goals past us. I think 4-0 would be par, to be honest. I've watched us a few times recently. Leeds in particular springs to mind. They dominated that game, but sort of didn't really do anything. They had us right where they wanted us for the whole game and never drove home the advantage. And if I was a Leeds fan, I would have left that stadium being angry that we hadn't put another 3 goals past us. So I fully expect that for tomorrow, to be honest. You guys will want to score plenty of goals, and I think you will have the opportunity if your boys are game.
Craig, I mean, if we do get the early goal, do we sort of step down a gear and just take it easy, or do we go in for the kill? What's your prediction?
It'd be difficult.
This is where you see how nice he really is, Alex.
Yeah, I can't see as. Well, it depends. If you get to the goals do start flying in, then someone will be talking about records or whatever. I can't see it at some point. QPR have to say we're at least going to put up a fight, and we're going to make sure that we walk off. Even if we don't walk off with any points, we walk off with a few yellow cards because we've actually been in a game. So I don't think we'll run away with it. To be honest, I've gone for a 3-0, and I'll happily take that.
Maybe I should go now. Do you think? It's been nice seeing you both. I am concerned for QPR if they do concede early, and if they do concede early, I think it could be embarrassing. Sorry, Alex.
Just say it, Chris. Come on.
I hate saying this.
Nothing would surprise me at this point, right? Everyone's expecting us to lose. Okay, so there's no offense taken.
We have said all season that somebody at some stage is going to get a tonking. We haven't really done that yet. I've actually reined myself in a little bit from what I was originally going to say, but I have gone, I'm sorry, but I've gone 6-0 to Leicester.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Wow.
He won't be back on now, Alex, will he?
Thank you very much for having me on. Goodbye.
Highfield has gone 3-0 and Scott has gone 5. Alex, look, mate, we know how you feel. Like I say, we were there this time last year. We were. I think we'd gone through our bad run. It was the World Cup break by about now, but we'd lost 6, 5, and 4 on 3 consecutive games, hadn't we, Craig?
We had, but then we had a really good win just before the World Cup, I think, and then we had that.
Forest, though.
Yeah, I think we had. I think we all went into the World Cup on a double wave of false optimism.
Yes.
1, that Leicester could do well and get out of trouble, and 2, that England might win the World Cup. Neither of which happened.
That is very true. Alex, thank you so much for coming on. I do wish you all the best. Like I say, I can't explain it, but I do have a liking for QPR, and I'm old enough to remember Stan Bowles. So
it's because you look good in hoops. That's what it is, Chris.
Well, you've been watching my workouts, haven't you? You know what I mean? But look, obviously, don't wish it for you tomorrow, but I do wish it for you for the rest of the season.
Thank you very much, and then likewise. It's always nice actually, regardless of what the sort of situation is, to talk about your football club, isn't it? So, thanks for having me on. Not a worry. Like I say, I hope my prediction is wrong, and that you do able to stay up. All the best, mate. Hopefully, we'll talk to you for the return match. Absolutely, yeah. Brilliant. All the best. Oh, just remind people where they can find you again. So Our Generation on We are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, and Our Generation on Twitter if you need to find us there.
Brilliant. Get over there and support him. Lovely guy. Thanks so much for coming on, Alex. Take care, mate.
Cheers. Thank you.
Cheers.
Don't really want to twist the knife in, so I thought I'd let him go before we brought up the.
Well, I mean, 6-0 was sort of. I think you'd put the knife in. I think all you're not doing is twisting it.
He's still in the green room, so I don't know if he's listening to this. But on the show earlier, I am concerned that if we do get that, he's gone now, I can say it. I am concerned that if we do get that early goal, I was predicting another 9-0, but I have sort of reined myself in and gone for the 6th. Now, I know we always used to give each other quiz questions, but we are going to look at the last time we played as a team. Basically because we agreed that most people are younger than us that watch this and probably wouldn't remember, although I do remember the Joe Waters game against QPR. Talk about sort of appearing on the scene and then disappearing just as quickly off it. But very quickly, you Alex has just said thanks very much. The match that we've gone for as a past match, I'm going to test you first. Do you remember who got the QPR goal?
I do. It was Charlie Austin.
It was. And I always thought he was a player we should have signed, but then I was a little bit biased because he played for Hull Town before he went to Swindon, Burnley and everywhere else. But we played that. I mean, even Kramaric scored. I know that's the title of a Heskey autobiography, but again, I think he could have been one that got away. But obviously Vardy was coming through. I mean, Albrighton there. I mean, he's still with us. Joa got away. Cambiasso, I mean, scored, then taken off. But obviously, I think that was to give him his moment of thanks from the crowd. He did the bow, didn't he, when he scored, if I remember?
Well, I'm going to say, I mean, one of the reasons that I do remember Austin scoring for QPR was that I watched the highlights again this afternoon. So,
oh, damn. Right. I am going to have to get cleverer with these.
Hey, I'm a professional. I do my research. But there were a few things so Cambiasso scoring, and then he came over to where me and Scott sit in the crowd and on that side, and he did his bow. It was the last home game of the Great Escape season. And I did a little bit of a calculation. 344 days later, we were back at the King Power for our last home game of the next season, where we lifted the Premier League trophy. And just shows you what the madness of football.
What a difference a season makes.
Yeah, we do put 5 past them. Albrighton's was a fantastic. One thing very poignant today as well, watching those highlights, it's worth watching them just for one little clip that's in there. After Albrighton's goal, the camera pans across to the director's box where you've got Top and Kunvichai there celebrating the goal with each other. And obviously, particularly today, there was a poignant moment when that camera just panned over there and there they were. And you saw the joy that this football club brought to Kunvichai. It wasn't a one-way thing. You could see in his face, he wasn't there just as a businessman. He enjoyed every minute of his time at the club. And when that goal from Albrighton went in, the camera panned there and the two of them sort of looking at each other and smiling to each other. And it was a very, very poignant moment.
Yeah. I mean, can you believe that you've seen the guy there, Cambiasso? Can you believe you have seen him in the blue of Leicester?
I know. We was talking to Scott. I think it was during the Sunderland game. There was a moment. I don't know if you managed to watch a stream, that we were being pressed a lot, and we kicked more long passes than we have done all season, I think, in one game. But there was one ball that Hermansen played, the goalkeeper, straight through the middle of the pitch, inch perfect to to Dewsbury Hall, I think it was, who'd made a run from deep and just didn't manage to get it out in front of him. But it was an inch perfect pass, and we were talking about the greatest passes we'd ever seen. And we there's a couple that we talk about. We were lucky enough to go to see Barcelona and Real Madrid at the Nou Camp, and Alonso hit the most perfect pass of like 60 yards. But the other one that always comes up was a volleyed pass that Cambiasso made during one of the home games that we saw from one side of the pitch to the other. I mean, he was just a class act in everything that he did, and every ball that he struck seemed to be effortless, but he knew, it's a lesson to a lot of footballers. And I would imagine those that were around at the time, so Dewsbury Hall would have been a young kid around at the time, would have learned a hell of a lot from him of just how to receive a ball, how to look around you and know what you're going to do with it when you get it. And it was just, it's a shame it was one season, but then in some ways that makes it more magical that it was great to watch him at our place. In fairness,
we're not presuming and not even thinking that we were going to do what we did the next season.
No.
When you come to think, the fact that it was, I still believe it is the greatest of great escapes that we did. He went out having done that for us. And, we don't always, Nigel Pearson, I mean, he got him to the club, didn't he? He'd kept in touch with him and everything. And like I say, sometimes, I was there watching him, when he scored against Man United. And he's just, and he's been a gentleman ever since he's left. He's kept in contact with the club, and
I think Maresca spoke to him before he came as well.
Before he chose to make that decision.
Yeah, there was. I think that would have been a bit of a dream team, but I think he came out and did say that he had spoken to him, and he just speaks very highly of the club. And people always speak highly of this club. They leave, but they always come back. It was interesting today. I don't know if you saw any of the photos that some of the old players were back as well for the ceremony that they had today for Cumvichai, and Danny Simpson was there. Wes Morgan was there. And people speak so highly of what those guys and Cumvichai created at this club that it is a real family.
Yeah.
And once you leave, once your kids leave home, you don't forget them. No. And that's what it seems to be like at Leicester. Once people move on, they're not forgotten. They will always be part of the Leicester family. And
I think when you look at, the ex-managers that turned up, for when we, when we had the game where, with the post-match for, to honour Cumvichai, the ex-managers that were there, including Nigel Pearson, that had technically been sacked, but, still came back to pay their respects. But, I don't think I could support another team. I've got to be honest with you. But
no.
If I did, it'd probably be QPR. So anyway, are you going tomorrow?
No, I won't be. I won't be going tomorrow. It's tough to get tickets, and that's a quite a small ground. I have been many years ago, but no, I shall be keeping an eye on that.
The KP, I believe.
Sorry,
the England women are at the KP.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, that was a tough one to get as well. That I couldn't get a ticket for that when. I mean, it's good that that Leicester City are getting recognition, and we're getting international games here as well. And it just puts us slowly being put back on the map as a place of.
I tell you what, I will quickly ask, because I know you got to go, but very quickly, if the Everton Stadium falls through, and let's be honest with you, they're talking about minus 12 points, and that would almost certainly mean relegation, without doubt. Could you see the KP, and if that happens, that the stadium may not, I mean, it's being built, but it may throw a spanner into the works. Could you see the KB being picked for the Euros that we're hosting?
It'd be nice to. I think the capacity would have to be up there, wouldn't it? Around the 42,000. Whether we could get it all done in time, I'm not sure. But, it would be great. I would imagine there's probably bigger clubs vying for that at the moment. But
Yeah.
I'd like to think that we're thought of as a good venue.
Yeah.
So it'd be great.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic.
I will let you go, Craig, because I say I know you're gone. Thank you so much for swapping from last night, which I know is an easier night for you, to tonight. I had my flu and my COVID jabs together, and I thought I got COVID and flu together. I was out of action, and I like my food, and it was the first full meal I had today in 2 days. So
Wow.
if I'm not eating my food, I'm ill. Just give a shout out. Where can people follow you on Twitter if they so wish?
Yeah, just get me on Twitter at Craig Bird.
No numbers. He's the original. He is the one and only, as Chesney Hawkes once sang. Craig, thanks very much, mate. Take care.
Cheers, mate. I'll see you soon. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thanks to Craig there, and thanks to Craig for swapping at the last minute. I was not on my deathbed because that would have been man flu, but certainly with the COVID and flu jabs, I was on another planet for the last 2 days. Catch you soon, Craig. Catch you soon. Tomorrow, 2:15. We're going to be back at 9 o'clock for the prediction show. Don't know who's going to be with me at the moment because I'm struggling for a co-host because Brad unfortunately can't make it and Steve's still got family issues. So, but we will be live tomorrow as well at 2:15. So catch us at 9 o'clock here for the prediction show, and 2:15 tomorrow. When Brad will be back, and also Luke from Down Under, Leicester City Down Under, and we will be doing the watch along. Surely, are we going to be very Leicesterish or Leicester? How do you say Spursy? You can't really say Leicestery, can you? Leicesterish. Probably lose to QPR. That would just be so like us, wouldn't it? 9 p.m. we are doing the prediction show, mate. That is, we do every week, 9 p.m. on a Friday. We do the prediction show for the prediction league that we have for the championship. So we go through all the games and do the predictions. That's what it is. This is the new Leicester. This is true. This is very true, Nate. How correct you are, sir. How correct you are. But look, thanks to everybody that's been in. Thanks to Alex. Absolutely brilliant to have him on. I do wish him all the luck. I do like QPR. Like I say, I can't give you a reason why. But, some clubs you just like. Some clubs you hate. And I just like QPR. And I think they will go down, unfortunately. But I do hope they don't. Because, like I say, I do have a soft spot for them. So, come on, you Jers. But just not until Sunday onwards, okay? How's that? We'll do that a deal. Is that all right? So thanks to the guests. Thanks to everybody that's been in the chat. Really do appreciate it. If you've enjoyed the show, why not subscribe? And also, if you don't mind, smash the likes because that really does help the channel. Thank you to everybody that's listening on. See you in a bit, Nate. Thank you very much. Thank you to everyone who's watched and listened also via the podcasts, which is available on all the major podcast platforms. I will see you back here at 9 o'clock. This has been Leicester Till I Die. I've been Chris. This is Arnie. See you in an hour. I'll be back.
Thanks for watching. These videos are tremendous. You better like them too, or I'll be back.
This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network.
TalkSport. Powered by fans.
That will conclude this evening's entertainment.